Wednesday, December 2nd. Well, since this morning I no longer call that house home. I saw on the calendar that my wife had a hospital appointment with her ophthalmologist, so knowing she would be gone for a few hours, I took that as an opportunity to get my stuff together and move out, which I have. After getting my things moved and sorted, I put the house keys on the kitchen table, along with the divorce papers I received from the divorce lawyer last week, and was on my way. I've blocked both my wife's and mother's numbers, and any communication I have with my wife going forward will be done through my lawyer. In terms of my living situation, I'm staying with a friend for a week or two, but hopefully, I should be in my rented place before Christmas. I haven't spoken to my parents in a few weeks. Last time we spoke was via text, and I tried to tell my mother, in explicit detail, the things my wife was saying during her texts to the jacket holder. Why it hurt me so much, and why I didn't think it was her first time doing it with the whole "I'm great at keeping secrets" comment, and thus could never trust her again. My mother texted back saying she couldn't speak to me when I was like this, and she would let me cool off. She tried to phone me a few days ago and I blanked her call, and as said a bit further up, since today have blocked her number. I feel so let down by my parents, and at this point, it almost feels worse than the original betrayal from my wife. The way I'm feeling right now, I don't think I'll ever speak to them again. I think in times of strife, you look to your family to be strong for you, to be a rock and give you the wronged one support. My parents have been weak. They've made me feel like the one in the wrong, like I'm overreacting, and it's me that's ripping this family apart. Well, it's not. I never asked them to move mountains for me, just move my cheating wife out of the house, and they made their choice. My father also had the chance to put his foot down for once in his life and stand up for me, but didn't. You make your choices, and you live with them, I guess. Reading some of the comments on here from my previous posts, people have been saying things like, "I threw in the towel so easily. I was looking for a way out, and didn't love my wife because I didn't try hard enough to save things," but that's not true. I loved my wife more than anyone on this earth, and I was broken when I discovered what she was doing. I think we all have boundaries, and once those boundaries have been crossed, things change irrevocably. When I read those horrible texts, something changed inside of me. I fell out of love with her, like being snapped out of a spell in the movies. Anything tried after that is just delaying the inevitable. I have to say that I'm interested in the whole dynamic of their relationship now that I'm gone. Like, are my parents going to continue supporting her knowing that it has finished their relationship with their son? As for me, I'd love to travel. My wife hated flying, so most of our holidays had been to southern England, the likes of Newquay and Torquay and Cornwall and Devon, so it would be great to travel abroad again. The last time I was abroad was when I was 20 for a mate's holiday in Greece, so 13 years ago. I'd love to see a bit of America, so once this pandemic calms down, I've got my sights on the States. Thanks, bye. Wednesday, May 26, 2021. It's been over 7 months since I first posted on Reddit, and I honestly thought that was it for me, as I didn't need any more advice. I had made my decisions and done what I said I would, but I got a phone call this morning that dragged me back into the mire. I have moved 15 miles away, changed my phone number, and am still in the process of divorcing my wife. She has completely ignored all the requests from my divorce lawyer to cooperate, which has hindered things. We're now in the process of putting in an application for deemed service and trying to have her served officially by the courts. If she continues to ignore me, then I can proceed with a divorce without her input. Well, this morning while at work, I got a phone call from my friend telling me that my dad was trying to get in touch as my mother is not well, and would it be okay if he gave him my number. I said okay, and my dad phoned to tell me mum is in hospital. She's stable though not great. I was shocked, as I've not heard my dad's voice for so long. It was also the most emotional I'd ever heard him. He told me my mum wants to see me, so would I meet him at the hospital tonight and go in and see her with him. I said okay, and I arranged to meet him outside the hospital. I ended up going home from work as I couldn't concentrate, and I'm climbing the walls here wondering if I've made the right decision, wondering if I'm about to get dragged back into the shit show that I walked away from. I've never felt so nervous in my life, and the lack of control I have over the situation has sent my mind spiraling in lots of different directions. I feel like I'm walking into a burning building blindfolded with no idea where the exits are. Why does she want to speak to me now? Has she had a change of heart? Unless she's also had a personality transplant while in there, I find that unlikely. Will my wife be there? I have no interest in ever seeing her again. I'm still angry about what transpired with them and the way they took my cheating wife's side over mine. I've been going back and forth in my head about going at all, but I will go. I was also thinking about seeing if she wanted to speak over the phone instead, but not sure if she would do that or even if she's well enough. I feel like the bad guy here and that I might have caused this by walking away. How would you handle this? Saturday, May 29th. Sorry about the late update. I've spent the last few days trying to digest what happened and how I feel. So, I did end up going to the hospital on Wednesday night after much toing and froing. I was genuinely about to back out at the last minute as I felt my bottle crashing, but I needed some closure and knew that I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't go and something happened. When I drove into the hospital car park, I had this surreal feeling of paranoia and was half expecting my wife to jump out from behind a bush or something. I met my dad at the entrance, and it was pretty awkward as he tried to hug me and I said no. I then said if my wife is here in any way, shape, or form, then I am about to turn and out the door. He assured me she wasn't, and we made our way to the ward where Mum was. When I saw my mother, I got the fright of my life as she looked like she had been in the wars. Never have I seen her look so frail. She's got an extreme black eye, also a lot of bruising and purple, yellowness down one side of her face. She took a serious fall, broke 2 ribs, shattered her elbow, and banged one side of her head, face on the ground. So, elbow, ribs then head in that order as she went down. She looked zombified but perked up when she saw me. She told me how much she's missed me, and that she wasn't sure she'd ever see me again. I told her if she had wanted to get a hold of me, she could have done it. We spoke for a bit about what exactly had happened, and how she was down for a few hours before my dad found her. Also, she was determined to get back to normal and mend bridges with me. I brought up my wife and that I had been pushing for a divorce, but she was either ignoring the letters or wasn't getting them, so I asked if she was still in the house. Mum admitted she was, and Dad started to look uncomfortable. I just looked away in disgust. Mum started saying how lost my wife is without me and that she's not in a good way. I knew then that nothing will change. She's not had an epiphany or seen things from a new perspective, she just wants the status quo back. She said that the house is my home and always will be, but I told her I don't want it. It means nothing to me anymore and all it holds are bad memories. I stayed for under an hour all in all. When I left, I said if I want to get in contact I will, but don't be waiting over the phone for me to call, as you might be waiting a while. When Dad walked me out, he asked if I would keep in touch with him and I said I would. Whether that's right or wrong I don't know, time will tell. When I got home my emotions were a bit all over the place, from sadness to anger, but I'm glad I went. Couldn't help but think about my wife as well, and what she once meant to me. It'll not hurt. When I think about everything that's happened in the last 7 months, it honestly doesn't feel real. The speed at which everything fell apart was just spellbinding. I know life comes at you fast, especially when you're not paying attention, and I wasn't paying attention. It was just sheer luck I found out about her trying to cheat on me, cosmic coincidence, nothing more. I never saw the signs or put everything together, I just saw something on her watch, and it tore my ducking life apart. I know now that it wasn't the only time, I know it in my heart. I see what she is and feel no love for her, only contempt. I feel she stole the best years of my life. When I think about all the good times, they're just soured. It feels like someone else's life, not mine. My friend was saying I should see a therapist or something to try and let everything out, or else this will fundamentally change who I am and the way I build relationships going forward. That's something I'm going to do, I think, as I do feel a bit broken inside. The last 7 months have been the worst of my life, but I'd rather they happened than be kept in the dark. I'm just hurt that it happened the way it did. But you can't choose the way someone ducks you over, I suppose. You just have to learn from it. I remember reading about loyalty being the most undervalued character trait, and I see that now. It's probably because you don't know if someone is truly loyal to you until, well, they're not. It's not something you deal with every day, but now more than ever, I know how important a trait it is. Tuesday, July 20th. Hi. So I thought I'd post an update to my previous post, as quite a few things have happened. Firstly, I'm now in the home stretch in terms of divorce from my wife. She has signed the divorce papers and sent them to my divorce lawyer, so all that's left now are the formalities. She sent me a message via my dad, where she said she was sorry for not letting me move on, that she thought she could save things but now she knows she can't, and she has to move on for her well-being. I thank her for seeing sense. She doesn't want anything in the divorce and said she's going to move out of the house when she can get on her feet, which I'm okay with. In terms of my mother, I haven't spoken to her yet, but my dad said she's doing a lot better after getting out of the hospital and getting some normality back. I don't know how things will pan out with them, but I've said that if the house is going to be mine, then I want them to put it into my name now, to give me some security, then we can start trying to build bridges. We'll see how that goes. My biggest battles ahead are in my head and trying to get over everything that has happened. The brain is a wonderful yet frightening thing. To give you an example, I can still taste the truffles I scoffed, then threw up, at my grand's house when I was like 5. I've never eaten truffles again, but I can still taste those ducking things 30 years later when I think about it. What I'm getting at is I don't want to harbor thoughts, feelings, and opinions about everything that's happened 30 years down the road. I don't want to be one of those older people who's had everything good knocked out of them by the pain of life. You often hear about those people, how they used to be good, kind, or funny, but somewhere along the line, they've had experiences that have forever changed them, turned them into a person they never wanted to be, and all that's left is pain. I don't want to be that person. I have to let this pain go before it consumes me. I have started therapy and spoken to a psychiatrist both over the phone and in person, and it has helped me a lot to speak candidly about everything, if only for a little while. My psychiatrist also said something to me that struck a chord. When I was moaning about how my best years were behind me, she said, "Your best years are the years you've got left." What I think she meant is the past is gone, it doesn't exist, except in your mind. But the here and now do, and you can choose to make the most of it, or live in the past that isn't real to anyone but you. It's a phrase I'm going to try and remember when I feel down. I said in one of the previous posts that I wanted to travel, and that is finally happening. My friend has committed to coming with me, and we're booking a flight to New York at the beginning of October for a week. Looking forward to it. Always wanted to see New York when the leaves change, reminds me of that movie You've Got Mail. I want this to be just the beginning of my adventures in terms of traveling. I want my latter 30s to be littered with memories from escapades I've had abroad. Well, that's the plan anyway. All I know is that for the first time in what seems like a long time, I'm waking up with hope in my heart and walking with a spring in my step. If that's not progress, then I don't know what is. Wednesday, October 27th. Well, it's now been a year since my first post on Reddit, so thought it would be fitting to give one last update and end things here. First things first, I'm now officially divorced. Feels like a weight has been lifted, but also a firm end to what was nearly a third of my life. I saw my ex-wife for the first time since last December as I was walking into a shop in the town center about a month back, after visiting a friend. She was opening the door to walk out just as I was walking in. We were both wearing masks, but I noticed it was her right away and we made eye contact. She mumbled something that I couldn't make out, then we just sort of stared at each other for a few seconds, then I walked inside. As I was walking around the shop, this feeling of utter sadness just enveloped me and I had to take a minute to compose myself. It just goes to show, all it takes is one look for you to feel straight back to square one. Do I miss her? No. I miss the person I thought she was, but that person doesn't exist anymore if she ever did. I don't wish her hurt or hardship though, I just refuse to move forward any longer with hatred in my heart. The only person it'll burden in the long run is me. I also found out from a friend's girlfriend that she was sure she saw my ex-wife outside a pub in the city, all over another guy a couple of years back. She never said anything to me, or my friend, because she wasn't sure it was her and she didn't want to meddle. I'm extremely pissed off with her as I could have done with that information years ago. It's hardly conclusive, but I could have confirmed if she was out that night, etc. And it would have saved me a lot of heartache in the long run. Now I know why I've never liked her. One of the reasons we wanted to book a flight to New York in October, apart from wanting to see NY in autumn, was that the travel ban between the USA and UK was supposed to be lifted in September for fully vaccinated travelers. Unfortunately, that has now been moved back to November 8th, which has put our plans into limbo. My friend also can't get the time off work now till the new year, so if I'm to go then I'll have to go alone, which is a bit shit since we were both invested in going together. I'm pretty set on going in the new year with him, though I'll have to think things through more thoroughly. One thing this pandemic has consistently been able to do is to throw up curveballs, so I really can't complain or say I'm surprised. I'll get there though, by hook or by crook. This is just the start of my journey in that regard, remember? I'm struggling when it comes to my parents in that all I feel towards them is complete apathy. I'm just having a difficult time feeling anything, and no matter how hard I try, I don't think that'll change. My dad has tried to build back the relationship again, but I just don't care anymore. That might sound harsh, but it's the truth. I said in my last post that I wanted them to put the house in my name, though I haven't followed up on that. I think I was just angry at the time and wanted to assert some dominance at the outset of our conversations, but I really couldn't give a duck about that house. I think I would rather live in the house from Nightmare on Elm Street than there. It wouldn't change anything anyway. It can't turn back time, unless it's turned into a time-traveling house since I've gone, or circumvent what they did. It's just the sad consequence of the choices they made. To anyone out there thinking of forgiving a cheater, please don't, I implore you. You're flogging a dead horse. Don't be that person, desperately scrambling to put out fires started by your cheater partner while they gleefully reignite them. I feel stronger than ever after everything that's happened, and reading a lot of infidelity support forums in the last year, that you're letting yourself in for a world of hurt if you don't cut your losses. Kind of a relevant story, but at the start of the year, I had a really scary experience when I cut the back of my trouser leg on a metal bin while brushing against it at work. I never realized it had caused a cut until I went home, and when I went to bed at night, I felt kind of weird. I woke up at about 2 a.m. and my leg was pulsating. I felt deathly ill, was seeing double, dizzy, and was alternating between a severe fever and chills. I understood right away it could be sepsis, so I phoned an ambulance, which they said was going to be 2 hours plus as it was a Friday night and at height of COVID, and my thoughts were doing light-speed laps around my head while I was hyperventilating like crazy. Do you know the only thing that calmed me down when I was freaking the duck out? I accepted that I was possibly going to die, and then for some reason, I just didn't feel afraid anymore. I don't know if it was the whole accepting fate state of mind, but when I accepted that it might be over, it took all the permutations out of the equation, and everything became very simple and calm. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and when I think about cheating, betrayal, I feel very similar. You have to accept that what you had is over, it's long gone if someone is willing to plunder such depths and stab you in the back so mercilessly for their gratification. Fighting that unwinnable battle is noble and all, but when you're pissing into the wind with lottery odds of success, is it worth it? Is it worth the pain? I don't think so. I understand everyone has their situations with kids etc., but some fights are just straight up folly. Accept that it's over and things will quickly become clearer, that's just my view. It's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything. Tyler Durden, Fight Club. It's funny, I haven't written about my thoughts and feelings since I was in high school. I work up roofs for a living. This experience though has coaxed that side out of me, a side that I had pretty much forgotten existed. If something good has come from this fiasco, it's that I'm not going to bottle things up any longer. It's been cathartic for me to get things out there and see the bigger picture of my situation. Writing things down has helped me more than I ever imagined, so it's something I'm going to continue to do, even if it's just writing to myself in a journal or notepad. I think there are instances in your life, when all's said and done, that you can put a pin in and say, things were on a knife edge that day and could have gone either way. I shudder to think what would have happened had I not reached out for help on here, or seen those dog walkers. I'd likely have been blackout drunk, at death's door in a ditch somewhere, or in jail for firing Darren, aka Jacket Holder, straight through his ducking window frame after going through his house like a tornado. Honestly, though, it frightens me to think where I'd have ended up if things had gone south. I was not in a good way, and being drunk, embarrassed, and incandescent with rage is a combination that can cause chaos whatever way you cut it. In the end, I'm just happy I made it out to the other side without hurting myself or someone else. Most of my posts have been about the ins and outs of what was happening. However, I think the last few have been more about how I feel about what has happened. Betrayal just renders such passionate and invasive thoughts. There's no action on this earth quite like it. Being stabbed in the back by people that you love? In so many ways it's unique, and the emotions you feel after it is by the same token, equally unique. So, cheers for hearing me out. I said in my first post after finding out that I felt like a worse person than I was yesterday. Well, after everything that has happened, I feel like a stronger one too. Thank you for reading my story, Jay. I know what I've got to do now. I've got to keep breathing. Because tomorrow the sun will rise. Who knows what the tide could bring. See Noland. Castaway.
Like and subscribe for more ducking content.